we go. Welcome to Nothing to Say, the Fans Podcast. I have to say welcome to and not welcome back because we took probably one of the bigger gaps that we've taken in the 3 years that we've been doing this show. But Sam is adjusting to a new work-life schedule. I'm adjusting to a new work-life schedule. We've identified Sunday evenings as our day to film. So hopefully we've gotten everything figured out going forward. So there really shouldn't be this big of a gap in our episodes going forward. But so apologies on that. But it appears we have figured things out and we should be back to a weekly schedule going forward. Sam, it's been a while since we've been on. How you been? How's life? How's work?
Man, if you just want to snip it, right? I didn't have a single day this week where I had a day off. I mean, it was one thing after another. Just changing the youth, man. Really setting the groundworks for 14-year-olds of all genders and in the game of volleyball. Really, I've picked up coaching volleyball at a club here, and it's been great. Really, I was pretty fearful of it, of how to head coach a team and how to connect with younger kids, but it's been amazing.
Yeah, my only coaching experience was before I moved up here to Chico, and I got to coach one of the summer league teams for Roseville. And they say that athletes die twice, right? Once after your career is over, and then twice when you actually die. So like, I certainly felt that when my athletic career was over, and then when I got a chance to coach, it was, I mean, I always knew it was going to be fun, and it's something that I've always wanted to do, and something that I still eventually would like to do, as a hopefully a yearly thing. But man, it was so much more fun than even I thought it was going to be, and I went into it expecting to have a blast. So, certainly,
it's funny. Like, there's those things that coaches, if you guys are, most of the people that listen to this podcast, right, probably are athletes that have grown up being athletes, right? There's things that each coach through your life has done that you're like, man, that's so annoying. Why do they do that? That sort of thing. And I've had that throughout my life, right, with these different coaches. And now I find myself doing those things now because they're not paying attention, or we're not being focused enough, that sort of thing, right? And you're like, how did I become this person? How did I become them?
Right. You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain, right?
Oh, I'm so lax though. My girlfriend, she's been on the podcast, right? We're coaching together, and she's the mean one by far.
I think we all knew that was probably going to be the case. So, all right. Well, let's get to it. So I have to say right now we are filming Sunday night. So currently the Tennessee Titans are playing against the Kansas City Chiefs. It's basically halftime right now. It is 14-9 with about 2 minutes left. The Titans are up on the Chiefs. So we will not have the results of that game, and obviously we won't have the Monday night game, which is going to be the Ravens and the Saints game. So we won't have the results of that. So the reactions are basically going to be from the Thursday night game all the way up to everything before the Sunday night game. So let's do that real quick. We'll do a quick recap in case you need sort of a score update or missed a couple games. So the Thursday night game, Eagles beat the Texans 29-17. Then we move to Sunday. The Patriots beat the Colts 26-3. The Lions beat the Packers 15-9. We'll hit on that a little bit later. Chargers narrowly escaped the Falcons 20-17. The Jets, in an absolute stunner, beat the Bills 20-17. We'll definitely talk about that. Vikings continue their streak of winning at the very, very end over the Commanders 20-17. The Bengals put on an absolute clinic. Well, I should say Joe Mixon put on an absolute clinic with 5 touchdowns. I was playing against him today in fantasy. So
that's an L.
That was interesting. I have Justin Fields on my bench. There was no way that I knew that he was going to go off for 41 points. So that would have helped. But
he's been playing well though. Justin Fields has been playing well the last couple of weeks.
Absolutely. I have Geno Smith, and he's been money that like pretty much every week. So I was like, yeah, I didn't even think about my quarterback situation. But now going forward, I think I might have to. So Bengals rout the Panthers 42-21. By the way, Baker Mayfield subbed in at halftime, came in through 2 touchdowns for the Panthers. The Jaguars beat the Raiders. We will talk about this game. 27-20. The Bears almost beat the Dolphins. Almost beat the Dolphins. It appears that they are figuring something out in Chicago with their new quarterback. Well, not their new quarterback, their young quarterback. Dolphins win 35-32. Seahawks beat the Cardinals 31-21, and the Buccaneers come back and they beat the Rams 16-13. And again, like I mentioned, the Titans are up 14-9 on the Kansas City.
You're muted, Jason.
Oops, sorry. My bad. All right, so I have 5 takes coming out of week 9 of the NFL season that I will be reading to Sam, and he will be reacting to. I was able to sit down and pretty much watch all of these games today, so I have lots of thoughts on lots of different games. So I will start with the first one.
Yeah, hit me.
First game is going to be the Packers and Lions, and my take is the Packers are done. Like they're not going to make the playoffs. And I think this game felt like it should have been the get right game for the Packers. And we've seen get right games go south on teams this year. You want to talk about the Buccaneers playing against the Panthers and that quote unquote get right game that turned into a nightmare. But I think you were still holding out hope if you were a Packers fan or even somebody who just enjoys watching Aaron Rodgers that they were going to be able to figure it out. I mean, this is a team that's been 13-3 over the past, 3 seasons in a row?
Yeah, I think 3 seasons in a row, yeah.
Yeah, they've been one of the best and most consistent teams in the league for a while now. And with, a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, you just kind of figured they were going to figure it out. But, God, they were stifled today by the Lions. And the one thing that you can say about the one thing you couldn't ever say about Aaron Rodgers is that he was careless with the football. He threw 3 interceptions today. And that is something that is just very, very uncharacteristic of him. I would like to know, I don't have the stat in front of me, but it'd be interesting to know when the last time an opposing quarterback facing Aaron Rodgers threw more, when Aaron Rodgers threw more interceptions than the quarterback he was facing. Because I guarantee you it hasn't happened in a very, very long time. Jared Goff threw 1, but Aaron Rodgers threw 3 today. And it just, the Lions, good for them for fighting and competing against the Packers. But, they're done. They really are, especially now that the Minnesota Vikings are 7-1.
Yeah, I think it's a lot to do not about them, right? I think the NFC as a whole is the Giants are off to a great start. You can talk about Seattle, but Seattle and San Francisco, both of those teams are going to make the playoffs, right? At least one of them is going to be a wild card. Minnesota, there's no way they're catching them, right? Even if Minnesota has an Arizona-like collapse in the second half of this season, right? They're still too far behind with no real hope of getting right. They've lost 5 in a row.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we're just looking at the division winners right now, or what we think will be the division winners, the Eagles are going to probably going to, we're just going based off today, but we'll just, play it kind of safe. So the Eagles are probably going to win the NFC East. Seahawks right now, who knows? It'll be the Seahawks or the 49ers. Vikings are going to wrap up that division, probably have already. And then, I mean, I'm assuming the Bucs are going to win that division. So now you're looking at the wild cards, and the Cowboys are 6-2. The Giants are 6-2. Whoever doesn't win the NFC West between the Seahawks and the 49ers, one of them is going to make that wild card. So now the Packers would be competing. Well, actually, at that point, because I'm assuming that the Giants and the Cowboys are both going to get in. So at that point, you're competing against San Francisco and maybe the Falcons.
Right. Who are both ahead of them, right?
Well, and the Commanders are ahead of them, and they're last in the NFC East.
And they beat them, too.
And
so
they beat
have the
them.
tiebreaker, right?
Yeah.
I think something was very telling, right, when you were going over that get-right game. And all teams have it, right? We can go back to last year's Super Bowl champions, the Rams. They had that stretch, that 3-week, 4-week stretch where they looked awful, right? Turning the ball over, getting blown out. They lost to the Niners a couple times, that sort of thing, right? But then right before the playoffs, they had that game where it kind of clicked. Right. And that's what sort of righted the ship. We thought the Packers get right game was against the Jets. Nope. Jets seem like they're better than what we think they are. Commanders, that seemed pretty primed to be a get right game. I think the Commanders only had a couple wins at that point, right? End up losing that game to a backup quarterback. Losing to the Bills, you know what? They actually looked a lot better in that game, right? There was some hope coming out of there. They ran the ball pretty well, just didn't have enough firepower to compete with the Buffalo Bills, right? No loss, no faults there, right? Going up against a division rival who they have owned for probably the entirety of Aaron Rodgers' career, even when they had Matthew Stafford, right? Like, it is serious ownage that the Green Bay Packers have. And Detroit has probably the worst defense we've seen in the last 2 decades, giving up 1 million points to every single team that they play. If this isn't the get right games of get right games, I don't know what is. And then they end up having probably their worst performance out of the whole lot. Right?
So
that's just done. It's just too late.
So it appears, at least looking, I just quickly pulled up the record of Aaron Rodgers versus the Lions, and I think this is including today, because a couple of the websites say 18-5, but this most recent one says 18-6. So he was 18-5. Yeah,
that's ownage.
Yeah,
big time. I mean, how many chances do the Green Bay Packers have to get? This is supposed to be a cohesive unit, and I get they don't have enough weapons, but this defense is playing way too poorly. They were supposed to be carrying, right? And they're giving up 27 to the Jets, 27 to the Giants, 24 to Zappy, right? I mean, they're just giving up 23 to the Commanders, I think is too much.
Yeah.
Right? Those are some limited offenses that they're giving up. They should be dictating those games, right, as a defensive unit. And they're just playing, they're not holding up their end of the bargain. The offensive struggles have been widely reported, right? And some of those games I don't even think are at Rodgers' fault. Today, maybe he felt like he was forced. He might have needed to force it a little bit, and that might have led to the turnovers, right?
Maybe. But I mean, at the end of the day, they're staring up at the Minnesota Vikings, who are 7-1, and that just feels like too big of a hole for them to climb out. So Packers are done. All right, let's move on to the.
Might as well move the franchise.
yeah. Packers are done, and we're done talking about them. All right, let's move on to the second one. So the AFC is pretty stacked with good teams. I mean, if you look at the second place teams in each division, the Bengals are 5-4, the Chargers are 5-3, the Jets are 6-3. And I'm going to highlight the Jets right here because I think the Jets are going to make the playoffs. I really do. And I think the thing that is going to keep them out of the playoffs if they don't make it is not going to be because they didn't earn it. It's just going to be because some other team beat them to it record-wise, which is to be said. That there's just a lot of really good teams in the AFC, but I do think the Jets right now are a playoff team, and their play against the Bills today really showed it. Their defense all year has been playing fantastic. It was really Zach Wilson who you kind of sat back and were having question marks about, and he probably had his best game just in terms of not being overly gunslinger-esque in the game, because I mean, you look back at the game against the Patriots last week, he just gave that game away. He gave the game away to the Patriots. Now, I know he threw for 355 yards, and that was a career high for him, but he also threw 3 just terrible interceptions. Today, his stat line wasn't amazing. His 18 for 25 for 154 and 1 touchdown, but he was a lot smarter today with the football. He played really, really well. And the Jets defense is just really, really good. They were all over Josh Allen today. He went 18 for 34 for 205, 0 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. He was struggling today, and it had everything to do with how well the Jets defense is playing. I really do think the Jets are going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, one thing about that, man, I think it's tough. They got away matchups in the division, right? They're playing Miami, Buffalo, and New England all away to finish up. And I really think that they're going to lose every single one of those. Right? I think it's tough. I think that's just putting them behind the 8 ball. And then they have games against in Seattle, at Minnesota. A couple easier games, right? Against Chicago, Detroit, Jacksonville. I think those are for sure winnable games, but would I be surprised if the Jets were to lose one of those? No. Right? I think they're capped out at 10-7.
But see, they've beaten really good teams this year that I don't think anybody thought that they were going to beat. I mean, they've beaten Miami. So if it comes down to a tiebreaker, obviously they play Miami later on in the year, but they also are going to be playing Miami in January at the end of the year. So you'd think that the home field advantage that Miami has every time that they play won't be as crazy in January because, it's not going to be too ridiculously hot.
Wasn't that was Teddy Bridgewater, wasn't it?
When they play, I think so.
Yeah, I think that was when Tua was out.
They beat the Packers, which I know we just bagged on, but they very easily should have won that Patriots game last week. And if they get the Patriots, if Zach Wilson played the game that he did today against the Patriots last week, they win that game. They were mauling the Patriots in the beginning of that game, and then Zach just kind of gave it away. So I do think now, like I said, they're fighting with the Dolphins, they're fighting with the Chargers, they're fighting with the Bengals, and those are some really good teams that they're going to be going up against for that wild card spot. But I really do think that they have a good enough defense to carry them there. And if Zach Wilson plays the way he did today, then there's no reason why they can't make the playoffs.
Yeah, you're talking about them limiting his role, right? I think last year they went in and it's like, man, Zach's going to have to win us some games because the talent around him is just dreadful.
The kitchen sink at him, yeah.
Right, and then he eventually, it goes the way it goes. I think a lot of these games, right, he's been sub 200 passing yards, and that's kind of by design, really, of limiting not his ability for them to win, but his ability to lose the game for him, because he kind of has that in him. And maybe it's about having him learn how to win these games. And then once he allows that talent to take over and starts making some throws with a little confidence, I think the sky's the limit. He's definitely shown improvement this year, for sure.
Definitely.
But I don't think they make it. I think the AFC is too tough. I think Chargers make it ahead of them. I think Bengals make it ahead of them. I think Miami makes it ahead of them.
I don't know if the Chargers are better than the Jets, truthfully. The Chargers are so weird.
They're winning some close games.
They're so weird. All right. Let's move on to take number 3. Take number 3 revolves around quite a few different teams, but really around one guy. 2021 is going to be the year that the 49ers and multiple teams look back as the year that they missed out on Justin Fields. Justin Fields
poor take. Poor take.
Oh, absolutely not a poor take. Justin Fields over the past couple weeks has really, really started to seem like he is understanding how to really play quarterback in the NFL. Today, he went 17 for 28, 123, 3 touchdowns. He also ran for 178 yards.
I'm sorry, did you say 123 passing yards?
Yeah. He also threw 3 touchdowns and ran for 178 yards.
120, and he learned how to play quarterback? Was that the quote that you used?
So you're just going to look at the passing yards and ignore the 4 touchdowns and 0 turnovers?
Well, I get it.
You're just going to blow past that?
I think I said it earlier, right? He's been playing really well the last 3 weeks, right? But to say that he figured out how to play the quarterback position, I think
he's figuring out. And you got to understand that he does not have the weapons that all of these other like Zach Wilson has infinitely better weapons than Justin Fields does. Because at the end of the day,
What?
he has a number one wide receiver. There's
Who?
no person. Garrett Wilson.
No,
Have you been
what?
watching the Jets at all?
Dude, Garrett Wilson was in Zach Wilson's doghouse when Zach Wilson came back. Garrett Wilson was phenomenal for Joe Flacco, and he's been playing well the last couple of weeks, but he's not a number one receiver.
Dude, you have not been watching the Jets at all. At all. Garrett Wilson is 10 times better than any wide receiver on the Bears. The closest thing they have is Mooney.
Darnell Mooney's a good player.
I didn't say he isn't, but I'm saying
you say he's 10 times worse than Garrett Wilson. That means he's a bad player.
No, it doesn't.
And they just got Chase Claypool.
Yeah, they just got Chase Claypool, but he went for two catches and 13 yards. They also don't ask Justin Fields to throw the ball around the yard either. They're built around their run game right now, and that's okay. He doesn't have to develop into a 300-yard passer this year. But what I'm saying is that he's making very, very smart and very, very smart plays, and he's putting the Bears in position to win. So what you're seeing right now is a guy who's starting to figure it out. And in the next year or two, then I'm sure they're going to start to ask him, hey, we know you. I'm sure they're going to hybrid him into Lamar Jackson 2.0, kind of. That's what they're hoping he's going to turn in, or Jalen Hurts. Like, hoping he's turning into that. I'm not saying he's there yet. But what I am saying is that they are putting him in very good positions right now to succeed, and he is taking full advantage of it. And he's just looking really, really good right now.
I think the last couple of weeks, he's shown that he could be the most athletic player on a football field.
Oh, yeah.
And of both 11s, he could be the most athletic, and he just happens to be talented enough to be a quarterback.
He had this one run today where he got sort of stuck in the pocket, rolled left, and kind of ran up the middle. He did this pump fake to get a linebacker up in the air. And then as soon as he landed, put a little side step on him and ran for like a 60-yard touchdown. I was like, dude, quarterbacks don't do that. There's one other quarterback who can do that, and that's Lamar. There's one guy who can make that play.
Jason, I mean, I thought the Niners should have drafted him with the third overall pick.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the record saying that.
Yeah.
To say, I don't even think the Niners would admit that Trey Lance was a miss based off of 4 career starts.
Yeah, we don't.
Trevor Lawrence, I think, has shown enough, at least this year, that he is still better than Justin Fields. I think Trevor Lawrence took a major step forward when they finally gave him. Bro, he had to overcome Urban Meyer. He pretty much had to unlearn everything he knew about the NFL.
I was going to say, we need to put last year away from Trevor Lawrence.
Right?
Everything that happened negative to him last year, just attribute that to Urban.
Doug Peterson's probably like, okay, what are you looking for on this play, right? And Trevor's going through his reads, right? And Doug's like, that's completely wrong. Who told you to do that? Oh, Urban? Okay. Now we know. Scrap, throw that, we'll throw it in the trash. We're done with that.
Yeah, did you guys hear he was telling him to throw to the other team?
All right, I want you to act like you're throwing it to number 21 here in the blue jersey, but coach, he's on the other team. Yeah, but you're throwing it through him, okay?
Right.
Throwing it through him.
You're gonna throw it so hard it's gonna go through his hands.
You're throwing your guys open, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But the guy over here is open. No, but you're throwing this guy open.
Yeah. God, that was so. What a ridiculous. What a weird year that was for the Jaguars. I mean, my God.
And I think so. The Niners. I don't think the Niners regret not taking Fields.
No, I said that more just to sort of emphasize the fact that they had a chance to draft him. And as of right now, obviously he's playing outstanding. But in terms of a judgment call on Trey Lance, there's really no fair judgment that you can make on him yet. So
I'm hearing stuff that they might try to ship Trey Lance out and just stick it with Jimmy G and try to get more weapons and stuff.
Well, we'll see. Let's actually stick in the 49ers division. Let's go to the next take, and that's going to be on the Seahawks. I still think right now that the 49ers are better than the Seahawks. I think they're the best team in that division. But
Best team in the NFC.
There is a very no. There is a there is a real possibility that the Seahawks could win that division. And I only, if they were on even footing with the 49ers right now, I wouldn't give it to them. But the fact is that they are 6-3 and the 49ers are 4-4. The Seahawks have a lot of winnable games going forward. I think out of their next 4 games, theoretically, I think, at least on paper, they should win 3 of them. And they could very easily beat the Bucks. But they play the Bucks next week. That's going to be the game in Germany. But then they play the Raiders, who they should beat. Then they play the Rams, who they should beat. And then they have the Panthers. And then it's a coin flip sort of at the end of the year with the 3 games because they play the Niners, they end up playing the Chiefs, and then they play the Jets. So those are 3 tough games. But if they win 3 out of their next 4, I mean, and hell, they could win all 4. But I'm going to say that they're going to be 3-1. They're going to be in a really good spot. And again, while I think the 49ers are a better team, I think the Seahawks have put themselves in a really good position where they honestly could win that division.
Yeah, looking at it, man, I just wanted to see, right, to go back to see who they've actually lost to. Obviously lost to the Niners, right? And Niners kind of dominated them too. Didn't the Atlanta came back, I think, in that game to beat them, I want to say. And then lost a close, weird Thursday night game against the Saints, right? But they're beating teams that, well, they're beating teams, 1, that they should be beating if they're going to be a division winner, and 2, teams that really didn't expect to, like the Chargers, beating the Chargers. That's a huge win.
Yep.
Dominating, like comfortably winning against the Giants.
That Giants win looks really good now. Yeah.
Yeah. Sweeping Arizona, right? That is in hand. And it's huge. Really, I can't really argue it. I'm not going to lie to you. The simple thing I can say is I think the Niners are a better team.
I do too.
Right. So I think and could the Seahawks find a way to lose a couple games and lose that division away? Yeah. But yeah, you're right. I mean, they have a sizable lead, it feels like, when you look at the loss call, like the win totals and the loss columns of like, man, where are those 2 losses going to come from? Do I think the Niners are going to beat them in Seattle? Yeah, I could see it for sure.
You could, yeah, definitely.
I could see them beating them. Could I also see them losing? Not really, actually. I think the Niners are too good of a team to actually lose to Seattle in Seattle.
Okay.
But the Niners have disappointed me a couple times this year, right? They've lost to the Bears, the Broncos, who else was it? Who else? Oh, Atlanta. They lost bad to Atlanta, right? They've lost games that you would think that they shouldn't. They should honestly be undefeated.
The Seahawks have weapons with DK and Lockett and Noah Fant and their running back Walker, who has turned into a monster. And Geno is playing like a top 5 quarterback in the NFL with how well he's been playing.
Yeah.
They are
and their defense
very pleasant surprise. And their defense is really
buzzing.
well. Yeah. So I mean, the Seahawks have, I think, a clear path to win the division. The only thing is obviously the 49ers are going to be kind of chasing them from behind. And that game against the 49ers in Seattle will probably be what wins or loses either of those teams that division. I really think that it's probably going to come. Yeah, you'd think that it's going to come down to probably that game. Because that'll be the 49ers having the whole tiebreaker over them, or not only the Seahawks being on equal ground in terms of splitting, but also adding a win while the 49ers lose at that time.
Right. Do you think what's the record do you think of the Seahawks when they finish? Or like finish this stretch, right? What do you think they're going to finish?
I mean, like I just said, I think they're going to win 3 out of their next 4. So that would put them at like 9-4, I think is what that would put them at. And then I don't know if I'm just being, let's say, generous. Let's say they split their last 4 games. They go 2-2, right? I mean, then that puts them at 11-6.
Well, dude, I mean, I don't think that's enough.
You think the 49ers are going to win? So the 49ers would have to win, like,
Let's go
undefeated.
Let's go through it. Yeah, they're going to go undefeated. Who are they going to lose to?
Okay, well, the scariest games on the schedule for you guys are the Dolphins and the Seahawks.
Okay, Dolphins at home. That's huge. They're not going to be cooking on 120 Fahrenheit.
And the Raiders are going to bang you guys over.
Easy win, right? Look, oh my gosh, do you even see this?
I'm looking at the schedule.
Their last what?
You can't just write off the Bucks. I know they haven't been playing well, but you can't just write them off.
Bro, but their last 9, 6 of them are at home. That is a favorable schedule for them.
It is.
Right off the Bucks. The Bucks are trash.
But what I'm saying, you can't just write them off. It's
still no, you definitely can. If you score 20 points, you're beating the Bucks. Like, that's it.
You're also assuming, so you're saying that you'd have to assume that the 49ers are going to go undefeated. Just based off the win total we just gave Seattle.
No, you said 11-6, so the Niners can go 12-5.
Yeah, but in order to get that record, you'd have to win all of your games because you only have 8 games left.
But they only have 4 losses. What? They have 9 games left.
They have 9? Oh, they do have 9 because they had okay.
Yeah, they're on bye this week.
They're on a bye.
That where that's where the disconnect was? Okay.
Okay, cool. You're on a bye.
They're winning this week.
We'll see.
Bro, look at it.
Very interesting.
Chargers.
I am looking at it.
Not tough. Arizona. That's a tough matchup, but they're not playing nearly as well as we thought they were going to. So they might split with Arizona. They might split that way. They might win that last game at home, right? I think they have to win that Seattle game. I think that's a must. Commanders, they can handle. Bucks, they can definitely handle. Saints, they can definitely handle. Dolphins might be a little tricky, but if anyone knows how to defeat that offense, I think it's DeMeco Ryans because he plays against it every training camp.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how that division shakes out because those are 2 really good teams, 2 of the better teams in the NFC.
They're going 12-5, 13-4.
Let's do the last take. The very last take is going to be on my dreaded Raiders. Last week I would have said that the Raiders and the Vikings are opposites of each other. And the reason why I would have said that is because this year the Raiders have lost pretty much all of their games except the Saints one by 1 possession. The Vikings, conversely, have won all of their games by 1 possession. They both have quarterbacks who are probably around equal footing, roughly.
Yeah.
They both have very good running backs, top 10 running backs. They both now have why are you shaking your head at Cooking Jacobs? They both have. They both have very good tight ends. Now that the Minnesota
Vikings is injured all the time. I don't even think you can count him.
No, you can count him. But I'm just saying.
I don't even know why I drafted him for fantasy.
TJ Hawkinson now with Minnesota Vikings. They both have number 1 wide receivers, Devontae and Jefferson, and they both have good number 2 receivers in Renfrow and Thielen. So they were, in a sense, dude, would you stop? Let me get through my day. They were inverse of each other. And the Raiders last year were sort of doing the exact same thing that the Vikings are doing right now. The Raiders were kind of living on a prayer a little bit because they were winning all of these close games. So I went into this game going, you know what? The Jags are 2-6. They should beat this team. Not that I think they're going to make the playoffs or anything, but hopefully it's a game where they can just kind of get their footing again. And I've come to the conclusion that the Raiders just suck.
So the Packers are done and the Raiders are done.
It pains me to say it. It pains me to say it. And the reason why, because last year was such a pleasant surprise. I don't think anybody was expecting them to make the playoffs. And they go on this run, they make it to the playoffs. And then this year, you had expectations. And then now they're 2-6. So it hurts that much more. And here's the thing that I don't understand. The Raiders roster from like 4 years ago to now, from like 4 years ago to now, hasn't changed much. They've just added players who you thought, would bolster the roster. So last year is pretty much the identical team to now, with the addition of Devontae and Chandler Jones. I do not know for the life of me what the difference is with the players. The only difference has been McDaniels. And I don't like calling for McDaniels' job.
You've been calling.
Because it doesn't feel right.
You've been ringing for that job.
Man, that's the common denominator right now, or the uncommon denominator that has just got added with the Raiders over this season. And man, I read some of the comments from Devontae and Derek after the game, and they did not sound happy. And McDaniels
in front of you,
I did.
I can find it. You can keep going.
If McDaniels, and like I was talking to my dad today, fans don't know. We really don't know if it's the players. McDaniels could have a great scheme going into the game and the players aren't executing it. Or maybe he just has crap schemes and the Raiders are doing the best they can. Nobody really knows. But man, if the Raiders finish with like 3 or 4 wins this year with the roster that they have, and if McDaniels doesn't get fired, I'd be shocked. I'd really be surprised. Really, really surprised. And I was on the record last year saying that they should have kept Rich Bisaccia. I really felt like he was the best choice, especially given everything that happened with the Raiders last year. Him and Derek were kind of able to be that sort of calming presence and kind of steering the ship and steering them right to the playoffs. And they had a chance in that playoff game. I did not want them to get rid of Bisaccia, and they did. So here's what I'm saying. I think right now the Raiders should trade with the Packers. We'll give you Devontae back if you give us Bisaccia back.
Is he on the Packers?
Yes, he's the special teams coach for the Packers. And I'm only saying that as a joke because I don't want the Raiders to get rid of Devontae, but man. Seems like
he's the problem.
Man, it's just McDaniels. He's the only thing that I can point at. And I don't know. I don't really know. So it's hard for me to sit here and say that it's 100% his fault because I don't think it is 100% his fault. But man, some of the things that I feel like it's clear. Like in the first half, they were so aggressive. They were up 17-0 and just were throwing it all over the yard on the Jags. And then they started to kind of get a run game going a little bit. And then in the second half, they didn't throw a pass down the field that was more than 5 yards. They totally took their foot off the gas. And it was the same thing they did against the Chiefs. It was the same thing they did against the Cardinals. Yeah, it's just
name a game.
Ridiculous.
It's been that story.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It feels like they just once they get a lead in the second half, they're like, okay, we're done. Like McDaniel stops being aggressive, and I don't get it. I don't understand. I really don't.
Sorry, man.
So that's my rant about the Raiders. If you're a Raider fan, doom and gloom. The season's over. We're tanking for who knows. I don't know. But
I think the only way that us mere mortals can judge a coach and a coach's performance or a coach's job, right? A head coach, right? Is if they have a specialty. Each coach has to prefer one side of the ball, right?
Yeah.
Either defense, offense, special teams. But if that's your specialty, it better be dang good. Right? It's got to be probably, if you're a new coach, upper half of the league. If you're an offensive coach, your offense better be performing in the upper half of the league. Probably closer to top 10 nowadays because of the expectation that McVay, Shanahan, heck, McDaniels probably moved that bar a little bit with his job too. Zach Taylor over the years, right? You got to show early and often that you fixed your side of the ball. And then over the years, plugging in, maybe getting a DC that fits that scheme and everything, right? But Josh McDaniels has been in this league forever, and their offense got worse. I think that's the most telling thing you could say about a dude's job, right? It's just not a good fit. Maybe it doesn't say anything about him as a head coach. Maybe it's just not a good fit. Is he going to get another
and that's
opportunity?
fine if it isn't.
No.
Yeah.
Like it's just the end. It's just reality, right? There's only 32 opportunities, and he wasn't the right guy for this job. That's all good.
Yeah. It doesn't mean he's a bad guy.
No.
Or anything like that. Like,
and the guy from in Denver, right? What's his name?
Oh, Nathaniel Hackett.
Right. Offensive guy. Their offense looks worse with Russell Wilson and all those weapons, right?
Yeah.
I think that's just telling. If you see that in year one, what makes you think that it's going to, like, we talk about it, right? Urban Meyer was awful. Doug Peterson comes in. He's the only change to that offense. Yeah, Christian Kirk's added. Travis Etienne's healthy. Those are two pieces. But that offense looks night and day last year, and you can definitely put that on the coach.
Yeah.
I think Doug Peterson earns a lot more time. He might get fired at the end of this year, and that might suck. But I think he deserves more time.
I don't think Peterson's going to get fired. I don't think so.
I'd hope not. I think you have to show it. You have to prove it that you can fix your side, and that shows, oh, he knows what he's talking about.
Yep.
That's the only thing I could say, because we don't know what all the things that go on, but I think that's the most telling thing. If you like are a self-proclaimed offensive genius and the offense is struggling, that's on you.
Yeah. Just weird all around. All right. I don't want to talk about Rams anymore.
Well, wait, one more. What we think? They're going like 4-13 rest of the way.
They're not going to win a game the rest of the year.
They're tanking with the Colts for a good QB, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud.
I don't know who they get. I really don't know. And what's going to be interesting is what the evaluation of Derek is at the end of the season, because I don't think Derek's been playing poorly.
It's probably his best year though.
Yeah, but again, he had his absolute best season last year with the same team.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can attribute that to Derek just being off, or the offense that he's in is just not conducive with what he's good at. Because
I see that.
Like last year, it was like he was throwing it. I mean, he was just heaving the ball all over the place, and now it's just like these little dink and dunks that I don't know. It's weird. It looked like last season he finally like really 100% got it with Gruden, and it showed with the 5,000 yards and all the touchdowns he threw and going to the playoffs. And then as soon as he got it, here comes McDaniels, and now he's asking him to not throw the ball down the field and just kind of dink and dunk and do what Brady did. And it was like, he's not Brady, so stop asking him to be Brady. But whatever. All right, we'll move off of that. Do you have anything about week 9? Because if not, then we'll bounce forward to week 10 and maybe some NBA stuff.
Yeah, I think just the last thing. I had one. It was kind of along the same lines. Who wins the AFC East? Because that division is the tightly contested. Like, it's just so congested in that division. I think we both got the Bills, right?
I still think the Bills are. I don't think people have been defending the Bills as the best team in the NFL, and I don't think you can do that anymore. I was fine with that take when they had one loss, and I know the Jets aren't a pushover, but I don't think anybody can say that the Eagles are definitively not the best team anymore.
Yeah, I think you just got to give them the respect. And are we buying the Chargers? They've had a couple close wins of teams that you think they would really dominate. It's teams in the NFL, right? A win's a win at the end of the day, and they're 5-3 somehow. Are we buying them?
Yeah, I don't know.
Injuries for sure on that offensive side. I think you got to start the conversation with a lot of injuries, both sides, really.
Yeah, it's just weird because they go in and then they almost beat the Chiefs, right? But then they barely beat the Broncos, and they get pummeled by the Seahawks, and then they barely beat Atlanta, and they get destroyed by Jacksonville. So it's just weird. They have a very weird resume, but they're 5-3. I don't know. I don't know what to make of them, honestly. And I see them a lot because they're in the AFC West. I think injuries played a big part of kind of why maybe they're not better than I think everybody thought they would be. But I don't know. I'm looking at the other teams. I think I'd put them in the same sort of breadth as the Giants, in the sense that they've got a winning record, but it's weird. Like you almost don't want to, like the Giants have done nothing but win, and yet there's still a hesitancy to pick them. And I feel like the Chargers are the same sort of thing. Like they've won, they're 5-3, but there's still a hesitancy to go. I think
I look at those two teams differently. I think the Chargers at 5-3 are playing at their absolute worst, and the Giants at 6-2 are playing at their absolute best. And I think that's just how I look at it. And maybe this is who the Chargers are this year. And a lot of people picked them to be going to the Super Bowl or going to the AFC Championship, and to be right, they keep backing them, right? And I think that's the same with me in my head, right? Because I picked them probably to go to the Super Bowl.
You want to know what the funny thing is? I'm looking at the stats right now. They have given up more points than the Raiders, and the Raiders have scored one less point, and they're 5-3, and the Raiders are 2-2.
No, I was looking at it, right? What's the Chargers' defining win? All of these wins are just awful that they have.
Yeah,
their best performance is against the
Broncos,
Chiefs,
the Browns, the Texans, and the Raiders.
They're all bad teams. That combined record is really high on the loss column.
Yeah, they're all bad teams.
Getting smoked by Jacksonville, getting smoked by Seattle.
They're going to lose their next two games, I think. They play the Niners and then they play the Chiefs. So they'll be 5-5.
I mean, I can't argue with the Niner game.
Yeah, I think they're gonna get destroyed by the Niners, honestly.
Yeah, it'd be funny to see when Mike Williams comes back, if Keenan is fully back. But this offense, we've talked about McDaniels, right? But Brandon Staley is supposed to be a defensive guy, and that defense, I think, is underperformed his whole tenure.
I wonder if that's why he doesn't care about going for it on fourth down, because he's a defensive guy. So he's just like, screw it. This is not really my area of expertise. Go ahead.
No, they need a Minnesota shift, right? When Minnesota went from a defensive-minded head coach to now an offensive-minded, I think that'd be the best thing for Justin Herbert's career.
I think they should take McDaniels.
No, they wouldn't do that. But
I know.
Whoever the next guy up is from either San Francisco or I want to say LA, but maybe that's not very good right now. But they just are so unimaginative on offense. It's like, three-step drop, Justin, make us look good. Right? There's no scheming to get guys open, really, in that offense.
Also, update, which I know won't matter for our audience, but for you, the Titans are up 17-9 right now with about 6 minutes left in the third. So go Titans. All right.
So the Raiders could come back in the division.
Yes. All right. So we're at a little bit of a crossroads here. Do you want to talk about the NBA, or do you want to do week 9 of the NFL week 10 and make our picks? Which one do you want to do first?
I think we're going to do 10.
All right, let's do week 10, and then we'll finish with the NBA. So making our picks. So it's been a while since we've made our picks. So don't know what our record is at the moment. We'll figure that out later. But let's head into week 10. We'll make our picks. Falcons, Panthers. Panthers are at home. We take the Falcons.
Yeah, give me the Falcons.
All right, Seahawks, Buccaneers. That's going to be Sunday. That's the 6:30 a.m. game. That's in Germany. Seahawks, Bucks again.
Give me Seattle. Like I said, if they score 20 points, they're winning.
Yeah, I'm going to take Seattle as well. I know I said that they were going to go 3-1, and this was the game that I said that they were going to lose. But honestly, I'm just saying that to be realistic about maybe their record. But they could easily win this game. Lions, Bears.
Give me the Bears.
Yep, I'll take the Bears as well. Dolphins, I'll take the Dolphins over the Browns. Early morning game
Yep.
in Miami.
Yep. Oh, Browns are gonna be soaking.
Yeah. Humidity. All right. Broncos, Titans. Titans are at home.
Give me Tennessee.
I don't think that matters. Give me the Titans. All right. I am not writing down picks, although I guess we've been the same the entire time. So,
Yeah.
all right. So 6-2 versus 7-1. Vikings versus the Bills. Bills are at home.
Ooh. Give me Buffalo.
I'll take Buffalo in Buffalo as well. That's a very interesting game because I feel like that's like a prove-it game for the Vikings. You know.
Definitely.
So, and that's going to be a game that the Bills. I feel like the Bills are going to. Go ahead.
The Vikings have had a fairly easy schedule, right? The only team that I can really remember that's actually a good team that they played was Philly,
Eagles.
And they lost.
Yeah, they lost. Yeah. Yeah, they played. I mean, they beat the Dolphins.
I don't think Tua was playing.
I'm checking. Yeah, Bridgewater wasn't. Yeah, they really haven't had any massive wins, so that'll be interesting. Giants, Texans. Giants are home. Yep. Chiefs at home versus the Jaguars.
Give me the Chiefs.
Yep. Steelers are at home against the Saints. That's an interesting game.
Man, the Steelers have not looked good with Kenny Pickett.
No.
No.
Weird.
They just traded Claypool 2-6.
I'm gonna take the Saints. Take the Saints on the road in Pittsburgh.
Man, their offense is just. Oh, like I said, Pittsburgh scored 20 points and they beat Tampa Bay.
There you go.
God, they just have not looked good. I think TJ Watt's back, so I'm gonna go Steelers.
That's a good call. Raiders Colts.
That's a shite show.
I take the Raiders. I have to.
You gonna have a side bet with one of our friends?
Bryson, who's gonna get sacked more?
Which team is gonna look worse? I'll take the Raiders.
Yeah.
They
should win that. They should win that game by 3 touchdowns. But God,
JT coming back. I don't even think it matters,
dude. On paper, they should just obliterate that. Oh, God, if they lose that game. All right, Rams.
I'm gonna take the Colts. Did I say I was gonna take the Raiders?
You're gonna take the Colts.
I'm gonna take the Colts.
All right, Rams Cardinals. They both stink.
Where is it?
LA.
So it's an Arizona home game. Rams are so weird.
I'm gonna take the Cardinals. I mean,
they didn't look good either.
No, neither one of them looked good, but the Rams just have not. I don't know what to make of the Rams. I really don't.
I'll take the Cardinals as well.
All right, Cowboys, Packers.
Ooh.
I think the Cowboys.
Yeah, give me the Cowboys.
It's in Lambeau, but I don't think that's going to matter. Give me the 49ers over the Chargers.
Big time.
And then give me the Eagles over the Commanders.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a fun game, though. I think the Commanders will give them a fight. I don't think it's going to be. I still think the Eagles are going to win that, but I think the Commanders will give them a good punch. So we're only different. Night? Yeah. So we're only different on 2 games. It's the Colts and the Saints.
Give me the Rams.
Okay. All right. Well, there you have it. Those are our Week 10 picks. And then let's just close this out with a little bit of NBA talk. We will, now that the NBA is back full in swing, we will have episodes that are going to be geared more towards the NBA and then geared more towards the NFL. We'll swap back and forth. But just quick little thoughts about the NBA. A couple thoughts that I had just early season kind of thoughts. Cavaliers are 8-1. Whoa. I mean, Not that I think anybody thought they were going to be bad. Because I mean that starting lineup for them with Mitchell, Garland, Allen, Mobley, and Levert is a nasty starting lineup. But 8-1 for Cleveland, that is really intriguing. The Warriors being 3-7, that's interesting.
That does make sense.
That I don't know when the last time I looked at the standings and the Kings were ahead of both the Lakers and the Warriors.
They're ahead?
They're ahead of both of them right now. So that's interesting. I thought that was something to kind of make note of. The Jazz, I think, are better than a lot of people expected them to be.
It's because they don't have as many losses. I was like, there's no way they have more than 3 wins.
Yeah. The Jazz sitting at 7-3. That's also something that I
Trailblazers.
Yeah, the Trailblazers being 6-3. That's a little bit of a surprise. I think the Bucks being 9-0 is fairly consistent with what everybody thought it was going to be. The Nets are an absolute dumpster fire. Holy smokes. In every sense of the word. Luka Doncic is the craziest player in the NBA.
He's winning MVP, right?
He's got. I mean, if he keeps this pace, I think every game he's had so far, he's had over 30 points. It's insane. So, and then the Kings are starting to put a few wins together and starting to feel good about that. So
yeah, when did they start? 1-4.
Yeah, they've won 3 of their last 4. So, and they beat two decent teams. I mean, the Hornets aren't bad and the Heat aren't bad. So,
yeah, Hornets didn't have Ball and Rozier.
Yeah,
which is kind of big. But I don't think Fox played that game.
Yeah, I think that was the one that he didn't play. So
yeah,
they've got the Warriors tomorrow.
Easy win, right?
Easy win, yeah. And then they play Cleveland, which that'll be tough. But then they get the Lakers and the Warriors again. So just run over the Warriors and the Lakers. This is your chance to kick them when they're down.
Heck yeah.
Come on now.
It's tough because I think every team probably circles the Kings as a get-right game.
Yeah, probably.
Over the years. Yeah, we talk about the Kings, man, because I've been paying pretty close attention to the Kings. Like one of the things going into this year was a strength for this team was going to be the depth, 1 through 8, right? I think that's the thing that's been lacking. Whether it's been you're relying on guys like Terrence Davis, Rashawn Holmes, Barnes at times really to score a lot more than their output. Davion Mitchell being a high-end scorer, right? I think you're just relying too much production from those guys coming off the bench, especially when Sabonis isn't giving you 20 a night and Fox isn't giving you 30, which they're kind of relying on him for.
Fox is going kind of crazy at the
beginning. Yeah, and Herder's playing phenomenal.
Very well.
To start the year, which is super scary because what if he starts slumping? Then
and Murray's played. I've been really happy with the way that Murray's been playing. I know that he's had
a last 3 games, man.
Games. Yeah, he's been on a bit of a slide, but it's one of those things for me that's important for the Kings to, and as fans, just to look at our draft pick and go, okay, I'm glad we have him. You know, like you can see it. So. Which has not always been something that the Raiders have been able to say. The Kings have been able to say with their draft picks.
Yeah, it's just tough because we haven't really from jump. He's been locked in, and this is the first sign of any sort of struggle. And it's like, man.
But I mean, that is to be expected, right? I mean, he's a rookie. Yeah. He's going to have his ups and downs.
Well, I don't know, man. I mean, if you're comparing him to like Banchero and. A couple of the guy from Indiana, right? There's some rookies that are jumping out to hot starts.
But they're also playing different roles for their respective teams. Like Murray's not relying.
He's the
Murray's not expected
fourth option.
To be. Yeah, and Banchero is he's option number 1 pretty much on the team.
He looks good though. He looks like a freak on the court.
Yeah. So they're definitely in different roles.
No, I totally get it. I think Murray, I think the biggest compliment you could say to him, right? They're not drawing him any plays. He's just getting his stuff through the flow of the game, which I think is kind of, I think a part where this offense will shift more, because I think he's one of the more reliable scorers on that team, right? Where you can count on him as that for sure third option, to where when Fox or Sabonis are off the court, he's that guy that's working with those two, right? And I think that's the kind of shift that Mike Brown, once he is fully understanding of this roster, is really going to make.
I didn't realize that Banchero was 6'10", 250.
Yeah, but he's playing like a shooting guard.
Dude, he's huge. I didn't realize he was that big.
He's phenomenal. Like he looks like a man amongst boys on the court.
Yeah, I didn't realize he was that big.
Big thing for the Kings though, defensively, I think they're actually playing a lot more improved. But it's rebounding. I think that they're really struggling, right? Because they're running undersized with Sabonis at the 5. And then Murray or Barnes at the 4. Right. So it's, they're kind of getting out rebounded sometimes.
Yeah. Well, early season, early sort of mistakes being made by every team, and maybe some teams getting off to hot starts that won't continue. We'll see. We, like I said, we'll definitely have more episodes that are geared towards the NBA, and then the NFL will sort of bounce back and forth. There's some entertainment stuff we haven't even hit on. We never got a chance to talk about the House of Dragons show, and I think we're far enough removed from it that we could probably talk about it with spoilers as well. Black Panther comes out this week. Bree and I already have our tickets for that. So lots of fun stuff coming up, and I'm glad we're back, and it feels like we finally have been able to pinpoint a consistent day for us, which has just been hard to do because we both have had fluctuating schedules, but it looks like we found a day that's going to be consistent going forward. So that's going to be fun. Thank you all so much for sticking around for the end of this episode. We really do appreciate it. We hope you enjoyed the football over week 8. We're looking forward to week 10, and we will be back next week with some more NFL and NBA talk. And then I, for sure, maybe Sam as well, will definitely have a review of Black Panther next week as well. So
I don't know when I'm going to find the time to go see a movie, but
yeah,
I feel like I like have a newborn or something.
Right.
That's how much less time I have right now.
Well, fingers crossed. We'll see. Again, thank you all so much, and we will see you all next week.